Amen. Noah. Either called Noah or Noach. There was about 1,100-year gap between the creation of Adam and the birth of Noah. Wow. Genesis 5:1-32 says, there are 1,056 years from the point that the Bible starts dating the years of Adam until the birth of Noah. And Adam knew Noah's father, Lamech. Noah was the 10th generation, the last of the pre-flood patriarchs, and was 600 years old when Methuselah, his grandfather, died, which was the same year that the flood started. His story is in Genesis chapters 5-9. That's in the Bible, the Hebrew Bible. It's also in the Quran as well. Noah is portrayed as a tiller of the soil, a farmer, and also a drinker of wine. Life for Noah got pretty interesting after his 500th birthday. 500th birthday got interesting. What was interesting before, I don't know, but it looks as though there wasn't. Because it only was interesting after his 500th birthday. Shortly after turning 500, Noah, became a father. So it took him 500 years to find the right woman. While he was raising his family, God told him to build the ark. Now, shortly after his 600th birthday, 100 years later, along with his wife, sons and daughters-in-law, entered the ark as God literally opened the floodgates. And that's when he and his family spent a year-long cruise on the ark. They disembarked to a fresh start in a new world. We've just come out of a fresh start in a new world. We've just had Thanksgiving when the Pilgrims sailed over to America for a fresh start in a new world, and we gave thanks to that. Raising 3 boys single-handedly and building a boat 1/3 of the size of the Titanic made for quite a memorable century in Noah's life. So he went 5 years of a boring life and had a century of wonderful stuff. It was amazing, interesting, and was enticing. He got married, he had children, and he built an ark. Now, God commanded Noah to build that ark to house and preserve not only his family, but every male and female species of land animal from its punishment of a flood of the whole earth. Then the rain fell. The flood waters rose around the ark for 40 days and 40 nights. Noah, however, and the other inhabitants remained safe inside the floating house, but never had a steering wheel, never had a rudder, never had an oar. It just floated. And God made sure and protected that it was safe. After a dove that Noah had sent out, it returned with an olive leaf, and the sole survivors of the flood disembarked, where God blessed Noah and his children, encouraged them to be fruitful and multiply. He also commanded them not to eat flesh, which still had the blood in it. That's carnivorous. Nor to spill the lifeblood of their fellow man. Do not murder or kill your fellow man. Additionally, God made a covenant with Noah and his sons, promising to never destroy their descendants, nor any living creatures through a flood, ever and never again. As a token of this covenant, God set a rainbow in the clouds to serve as a reminder of his pledge to all living creatures on the earth. You'll notice it when the rain finishes and a rainbow appears, telling you there's not going to be no more rain. There's not going to be a flood. And God done this as a reminder both to you and to him of that covenant and that promise he made to you. Noah is first mentioned in the Bible when his father Lamech. He predicted the up and coming destruction of the earth and Noah's role in restoring mankind. That's in Genesis 5:29, which says, "He will comfort us in the labor and painful toil of our hands, caused by the ground the Lord has cursed." That curse came from, remember, Cain and Abel? God cursed the ground. By faith, Noah, when warned about these things not yet seen, had faith about something that he had not yet seen. In holy fear, built Noah's ark to save his family. And by his faith, he condemned the world and became heir of the righteousness that is in his keeping with faith. That was in Hebrews 11:7. Noah was 500 when he had his sons Japheth, Shem, and Ham. Nothing is mentioned of his wife's name, if you notice. Could have been a long engagement, maybe. Noah could have probably got lonely. 500 years on his own. No one to speak to. And in Adam's case, no one else to blame. Never had a wife to blame. It was all his fault. He said to her, "It's about time I found someone and married her." He also, when he left the ark and went onto the dry land, he built an altar for God. And after he finished building the altar for God, what did he do? He planted a vineyard and became the first drunk recorded in the Bible. I'm going to come up with a new English name for that. When he got drunk, he got Noached. He was drunk as a Noached.
That's why John changed his life.
Probably. When Noah's youngest son Ham found his father drunk and naked in his tent, he went and told his brothers instead of covering him up. For this transgression, Noah cursed Ham's son Canaan to be the lowest of the servants to his brethren. I think there's more to this story than what's being said. I'm not going to say it, but it very well implies that something else happened. What happened, I don't know. But certainly Canaan to be the lowest of the servants to his brethren. Here's something you might not know, but you should know. Canaan then later settled in an area that would later become Israel, the territory God had promised to the Jews. They became known as the Canaanites. And later, when God rescued the Hebrews from slavery in Egypt, he ordered Joshua to wipe out the adulterous Canaanites and take possession of the land. Curse fulfilled. After the flood, Noah lived another 350 years, dying at the age of 950. During Noah's time, the wickedness of man had covered the earth like a flood. And God commanded a flood of his own, a literal one, in which all the people on the earth would perish. Only Noah and his family would be spared, for it was God's intention for them to restart humanity from Noah and his wife, not Adam and Eve. To prepare for the up and coming apocalypse, the Lord instructed Noah to build a structure to his design and dimensions. After all, Noah had never seen a boat. And yet, he would build one. He might have even said, "Well, what am I doing? Why am I doing this? What do I need this for?" When we meet Noah in the Bible, we learn that he's the only follower of God, remaining in the whole of his generation. After the flood, he became the second father. of the human race, as Adam was the first. But seeing the flood wiped out everybody except for Noah, we now are from Noah, because everyone else is gone before that. If Noah took 120 years of hard work and labor, and remember, he never had no DeWalt power tools. He never had no saw benches. He never had any of the modern equipment to build an ark. But Noah's greatest accomplishment was his faithful commitment to obeying God and walking with him all the days of his life. Can you imagine the ridicule, the jokes, the insults Noah suffered while he was building this thing for 100 years? And everyone laughed at him. You're crazy, you're stupid, you're delusional, they said. And they said, let me get this right. You heard a voice say if you build it, they will come.
Oh, that's my favorite.
Well, who will come? What will come?
That's my favorite.
What do you want this thing for them to come for? And where are you going to house them all in this thing you're supposed to be building? Is it just going to be there and locked up for eternity? Of course, they never knew what a flood was. They never knew anything like this. They never knew what a boat was. They didn't know what floated on water. Although Noah loved God with all his heart and was committed to obeying, this does not mean he was perfect and sinless. In fact, he had a weakness for wine, and apparently this was only his recorded sin. But he had patience, persistence, unwavering faithfulness to God in the face of a faithless society. Just as God blessed and saved Noah, he will faithfully bless and protect those who obey him today. Not for a short one-term time call, but obedience lived out over a lifetime of faithful commitment. And those who persevere, they will finish the race. It is strange to realize that before the flood and the conditions that existed on the earth, they were similar to what we have today in our 21st century. There's a great population explosion. And Genesis 6:1 was the same. Many scholars believe that there were literally millions, if not more, before the flood came. They lived on the earth. Then there was a tremendous moral corruption. And God saw that the wickedness of man was great in the earth. Genesis 6:5. It doesn't take a genius to see that we have become desensitized to morals and immorality in our generation. There was also violence in Genesis 6:11 and 13. And we see that every day played out before our own eyes on the media and television. Sadly, it's getting worse, more acute, with the growing threat of political divisiveness. Racism of all colours, not one colour, all colours, and homegrown terrorism. There's a lack of conscience even for murder, as in Genesis 4:23. We have seen an alarming trend in our society when school-aged children begin shooting one another without a conscience or remorse. And now they look to defund the law and order in our police and justice system. Noah and his family also picture a Jewish remnant being sealed in the tribulation of Revelation. And they seem to have a train in those days as well, after the church is relocated to a safe haven in heaven. Enoch, before the coming judgment of the flood, prophesied about all this. And Enoch, also the seventh from Adam, prophesies of these things, saying, Behold, the Lord cometh with tens of thousands of saints, to execute judgment upon all, to convince all that are ungodly, among them of all the ungodly deeds which they have ungodly committed, and of all their hard speeches which ungodly sinners have spoken against him, in Jude 14:15. And Enoch said, with 10,000 of his saints, remember? That's us. That's you and me. We'll be coming back with Jesus in his return at the end of the 7th year of tribulation. The designer of the ark was not Noah, but God himself. Noah never closed the door, but God locked it until the waters had rescinded. Noah's life is a reminder that judgment of sin will come. The day of the Lord will come. 2 Peter 3:10. Jesus uses this life of Noah as a foreshadowing of what will be like when the Son of Man returns in final judgment, Matthew 24. And as such, we need to know and follow Noah's example and be herald of righteousness and heed the words of Paul, which says in 2 Corinthians 5:20, Therefore, we are ambassadors for Christ, God making his appeal through us. We implore you on behalf of Christ, be reconciled to God. Just as Noah was, we are Christ's ambassadors in the last days, offering reconciliation. Through who? Jesus Christ. If you don't know about Jesus Christ, how can you be reconciled? And it's our job as ambassadors of Christ to let people know. Noah's name means rest and comfort. Man used to live almost 1,000 years. Now it's 120 years like Moses did. Today it's 70 years. But in America, because of our medical advances, we've moved that up 10 years to 80 years. In addition, Lamech's prophecy over Noah's birth connects back to Cain's sin. When he murdered Abel and God cursed the ground, in Genesis 5:29 it says, Out of the ground that the Lord had cursed, this one shall bring us relief from our work and from the painful toil of our hands. God is wiping clean so that he can remake the world from Noah's time. All the land is remolded by violence of the worldwide flood. All the waters are changed. All the animals, save for a select few, are destroyed. All the plants are destroyed and must regrow. Every human being, besides the family that was faithful to God, Noah's family, was destroyed so that the world might begin anew in close communion with who? The Creator. God. Just like how the world started with one family in close communion with God in the Garden of Eden. Adam and Eve's family. The flood happened because men perversely denied God. And in Luke 17, Jesus claimed that the end of days of men would act as they did in Noah's day. That's why you need to know about Noah. They were eating and drinking, and marrying, and being given in marriage until the day when Noah entered the ark. And the flood came and destroyed them all in Luke 17:27. I'm finishing with one sentence. Notice that men are focused completely on their own lives, never had room for God. They went their own way, done their own thing. which really and truly means all sinful things. But just to finish it once again on a humorous note, I have to tell you this little one-liner. I'm going to ask the question, why did Noah have to punish and discipline the chickens on the ark? And if you didn't know, I'm going to have to tell you. Because they all use foul language. Amen.